Even before the doors are open, there's a group waiting to get inside the Ellis Liquor Mart. Most have come for one product. It's London Westminster Canadian Apera.
It's a real popular wine. It's a popular wine in Manitoba. It's Westminster Sherry and it's good.
Leo Redhead says he can drink as many as 10 bottles of sherry in just one day. How often do you drink sherry?
Every day.
Just talk to me about why.
Because I feel good to drink.
The fortified wine has a 20% alcohol content and is the store's #1 seller year after year. A bottle of the sherry costs $9.37. The Liquor Mart on Ellis sells a staggering amount of those sherry bottles. We've obtained some interesting sales data from the last 3 years that shows just how much. In 2015, the store sold just over 31,000 bottles. That number rose in 2016 to over 35,000, and last year it climbed even higher to over 36,000 bottles being sold. And so how do those numbers compare to other LCs? We asked the LC at the St. Vital Square to tell us how many bottles they had sold in that same 3-year period. And it turns out it's a much different story. That store only sold 378 bottles.
I think it's an incredible revelation. I think it is, so people could say, oh, this is just one case, one store, one product. But this should be the revelation that we need to say, the programs we have aren't working. The posters and the billboards aren't enough.
Neil MacArthur is the director of the Center for Applied Ethics at the University of Manitoba. He says Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries has an ethical obligation to protect the public from abuse.
They're making money off people who have serious health problems. They know that. The statistics tell a clear story. And so they are not fulfilling the responsibilities that they have both morally and that was created by the legislation.
The corporation says it's raising the price of sherry to make it harder to abuse. It also gives funding to a downtown street patrol. But Corporate Responsibility Director Bev Memel says their hands are ultimately tied when chronic alcoholics keep coming back. I guess what I'm wondering is if you know someone is a chronic user of this, like someone who's drinking 10 bottles of this a day, who lines up outside every day to get this stuff, why can't you prevent the sale to them?
I mean, it's a good question, but we don't have any way of tracking it. And people have the right to purchase products whether or not, it's harmful to them.
The Main Street Project has many clients who drink sherry. Tal E says she's glad they're drinking it instead of mouthwash or hand sanitizer. She explains how the wine acts as a coping mechanism.
Alcohol is the drug of choice to numb the pain, whether it be childhood trauma or some other adverse childhood event or life event that has happened.
Well, when we have money.
Back outside the Liquor Mart, Marilyn Hart is getting ready to go home with her bottle. She says she doesn't drink outside, but she does see those bottles of sherry littered all around the downtown.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere, behind the back alleys, especially there's whole bunch of them laying around all the time, so.
Do you ever see people passed out drinking this stuff around here?
Oh, yeah. In the back alleys. Yeah. Everywhere.
And MacArthur says that should be a wake-up call for liquor and lotteries. He has a few ideas of what the corporation could do to address the problem.
It seems like there's all kinds of solutions, whether it's support workers, whether it's helping to fund. There's all kinds of activists that are engaged in that community to help these populations. They could be funding them directly. They could be getting them engaged to engage these people who are, again, very vulnerable to addiction and who are coming in a very specific place at a very specific time. They're not hard to find.
Austin Grabish, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Austin Grabish joins us now live. You rolled this story out this morning on Information Radio. What kind of reaction have you heard since?
Janet, the reaction's been pretty swift. A lot of people weighing in today with all kinds of different perspectives. Let's start with the first email I got this morning about this. It was from a guy who lives in the area, and he said he often phones the downtown street patrol because he sees folks passed out drinking this stuff. And his concern, his words, is that someone is going to die as we get more into winter. So that's one perspective. Another resident emailed me saying he thinks maybe he should start a petition to get them to take this stuff off the shelves. Those are two perspectives. There are a lot of other perspectives that were coming in today online from people emailing us, commenting on Facebook, that kind of thing. Some people didn't have an issue with this. They said, you know what, if they're not going to sell this product, they're going to sell something else, and they're going to drink that, or they're going to drink something like mouthwash, which is what you saw in the piece.
Which is perhaps more harmful, I don't really know.
For sure.
Has there been a problem like this with this product at another liquor mart?
There sure was. So about 8 years ago in Thompson, the liquor mart there faced a very similar issue, and they actually were going to introduce another type of this product on the shelves, sherry. They faced what was called a bit of an uproar in the community from people who didn't want another type of this low-priced, high-volume alcohol on the shelves. So what they did is they actually took it off the shelves, they put it behind the tills, and then they took that product completely out of the store altogether. Talked to a liquor inspector who worked in Thompson back then, and he said he really didn't want to see another kind of sherry on the shelves because it was already such a problem with people on the street doing what he called chip-ins. They would gather as much change as they could to buy a bottle, and these bottles would be everywhere. People would be passed out from this stuff.
You also spoke to a recovering alcoholic. What did he have to say about this?
So we talked to Ian Rabb. He's a former alcoholic, and he now runs a Aurora Recovery Center out in Gimli for people who are trying to overcome their addictions. And basically, in his words, he said this is irresponsible. He actually called this mind-boggling. He said the government and the Liquor Commission shouldn't be doing this. And his point was that he wished there was more help available for these people as much as there is sherry.
Austin Grabish, thank you.
You're welcome.